Very warm and windy welcome here to Capital Sports 3.0. I'm Alan Moore, of course, your co-host for this evening. I am not in my usual position. I'm actually down in the Baltic Sea, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. However, we're going to go straight away into the news because, of course, a lot has been happening the last little while, the last couple of days. Germany are going home. We did say before the World Cup that they were due a really bad one again. And yes, they did it again. So the iron struck twice, and they were defeated and kicked out. Of course, one of the most amazing results, of course, was with Spain being beaten by Japan, quite controversially, but it put Japan top of that table, going out ahead of Spain, and of course Spain in second place. As we already know, that France and Australia went through, and the final one today, which was brought a lot of joy. To the tears shown by one Mr. Suarez. They were knocked out, even though they beat Ghana. They went out because Portugal lost to South Korea, and Portugal went through in top position, and South Korea in second. So, it's all to play for, and a huge couple of games tonight, and then a massive, massive one tomorrow. I'm delighted to welcome on our usual man from Two Men, our man in Siberia, Andrew Flint, and from the Zone, Roberto Rojas. I'll say hello, Roberto, first as our guest. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Obviously, we're here right at the final day of the group stages. Obviously, it's been a dramatic and chaotic World Cup, to say the least, and that's putting it lightly. But I'm excited to discuss that and to discuss what's coming up next in the knockout stage.
Cool. Andrew, listen, you were glorying over poor Luis Suarez's tears after Uruguay went home. Yeah, you were rather happy. So, I mean, I think it's karma. It's 12 years too late, but a bit of karma.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, let's be honest. It doesn't matter if you've got no stake in the game, and I do on a club level. I enjoy any tears Luis Suarez sheds for a number of levels. But yeah, for Ghana, I mean, they were playing. They had nothing left to play for at that stage because in the late stages of the game, 8 minutes, 9 minutes of added time. They just simply wanted to get their own back. We saw the Ghanaian journalist in the pre-match press conference saying to Luis Suarez, "Do you realise that you are seen as the devil by some people?" He said, "Well, it's not my fault you missed the penalty." It's like, well, it's not our fault that you're crying now, Luis. So, but it's such a shame. Such a shame. But yes, I did enjoy
it. Roberto, I'll ask you this simple question. What has been the biggest shock of the whole World Cup for you?
I mean, there's a lot, really. I mean, obviously, if we go from strictly a results standpoint, I think you have to look at Germany. I think this German side had such a lot to offer. And yes, obviously, it's not the Germany of beforehand that we're so consistently used at seeing at major tournaments do very well, be it winning it or going to deep runs. In the last few tournaments, the World Cup and the Euros, we've seen them done performably bad. I mean, we've seen them very badly. And for them to, at one point, for at least a few minutes, them losing to Costa Rica, which is obviously no disrespect to Costa Rica, but given the talent and the paper and the quality that you have for that Germany has in comparison, you should beat Costa Rica on the day. But I think Germany just getting 1 point out of two, just not getting any sort of points to see them qualify to the next stage is absolutely shocking in my book, at least. But I think in a way also not surprising given the fact that they've just been performing badly in these type of tournaments.
Yeah, it is a strange one because I mean they as you said, like they're ones like when you say we go for deep runs, they go deep into a tournament. But right now there's something very, very ill in German football. I don't know what it is. I spoke with a friend of mine in Frankfurt just yesterday, and I asked him what's happening, like what's going on, and he'd worked with the DFB, the Deutsche Football Association, and he said something's up. He said something's really, really up. He said, I don't know what it is. He said, but there's some disconnect, and I don't know. He blames COVID, by the way, but I don't know. But he says that something's wrong with the whole setup. So, Andrew, today we have two huge matches. We've got Serbia and Switzerland, and then Cameroon, Brazil. How are you looking at those? Because I mean, the group is done and dusted. Brazil are going through no matter what. But this could be, great revenge for Serbia if they manage to sneak through.
This is This is quite a hard one to call, to be honest with you. Yeah, like you say, Brazil, I think, have been very impressive, getting results against two very stubborn sides, and with Neymar injured out of the last game, Richarlison in the first game looked to have filled in a gap up front that Brazil probably lacked for a long time in having that target man up front. But look, I mean, Serbia have disappointed me this World Cup so far. I thought they would be a lot safer at the back. The game against Cameroon was just crazy and wildly entertaining. But you don't want wildly entertaining. You want boring but successful. That's what tournament football is. So look, tonight's games, Serbia-Switzerland is obviously the one really to watch, partly obviously because Serbia have got to go for it. And also there are the undertones. I mean, last World Cup, we saw some political celebrations by some of the Swiss players. And I think that's got to be on the minds of some of the Serbian players. And I think you shouldn't... the cliche that every football politician trots out, don't mix sport and politics, is the most biggest load of nonsense I've ever heard. It simply isn't possible. But it is an undertone you can't ignore. I think Switzerland are going to grind out a result there. And I think Brazil are going to be joined by the Swiss, which I'm slightly disappointed by because, quite frankly, Switzerland bore the living daylights out of me. But this is what we're seeing this World Cup. The number of shocks, the number of supposedly lesser sides, but who have played to their strengths, which are not necessarily free-flowing football strengths. They're the ones that are successful, and in the end, that is what tournament football rewards.
Roberto, what do you think it is? You think that that it could be that Serbia, because they were kind of almost in a way outrun by Brazil in the opening game. They weren't, it seemed that Brazil were everywhere. Every time there was one Serbian player on the ball, there was 4 Brazilians around them. Unmatchable levels of fitness from the Brazilians. But do you think that Serbia could actually, kind of get this one if they can get past Switzerland, or do you think that it is going to be top 2 Brazil, Switzerland?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm a big fan of revenge, and I think there's always that kind of factor into it. I think certainly just the way that Serbia has been playing, obviously, to Andrew's point, yeah, they haven't been exactly impressive. Even for myself, I thought that they would try to get things running, at least on this final day where they've already secured qualification, or at least are still like right there, very close. They still haven't done that. So I think it's very interesting to see how they'll be placed into this game against Switzerland, which again, it has a lot of political connections if you dig deep into the storyline. So yeah, I think it's going to be one of those big games. But to Andrew's point as well, I think this has been a really weird World Cup, and everyone's talking about the surprises that we're seeing, from Saudi Arabia winning and Japan and even Morocco going in past Belgium and whatnot. But I think we're probably seeing a sign like, yes, and you can play in other factors. Maybe it's because of COVID, maybe because we're playing in a different World Cup, in a different month, in a different landscape, all that kind of stuff. But I think we're just in the basis of saying that, we there are no more underdogs. I think we're in such an advanced world where, yes, with certain exceptions, obviously, where you can have the analysis probable to check out certain players, all the data that you can get from all of these players. You can check it out on YouTube or any sort of scouting website that these teams could have. And now more than ever, yes, I think there still is that notion that on paper and using technology, you could win games. But I think the beauty of tournament football and in the World Cup and just in general is that you don't know what could happen, because for so many of these players, it's a big opportunity for them to step it up. So of course they're going to put it up a notch. And I think that shows that maybe technology isn't ruining the game, because we still have this kind of pureness in this tournament.
Okay, no, I see that making complete, like that makes sense. This kind of like there is a leveling. We've seen it in other sports. It's very hard to compare, like for example with ice hockey, where there are the elite nations, but there's still a bit of a leveling up where the likes of Switzerland have improved and developed and moved their way up, and come up with the Scandinavians and Germany the same. So they've kind of moved up to that level. In saying that, Roberto, just asking you, who do you think will go through from this group? Will it be Brazil, Switzerland, or maybe Serbia get a shock?
I don't know. It's so tough to say. Well, we're only a few minutes before kickoff. I'm gonna say, you know what? I think Serbia do it. Again, I'm this big fan of revenge and whatnot. And after what happened to them 4 years ago, I know a lot of these guys are going to be so hyped up and thinking, yeah, this is the opportunity to step up. So for me, and I'm going to stick to my prediction, which I've done on various podcasts and shows before the World Cup started. Obviously, it's aged poorly. So let's hope that it has some sort of freshness tonight and Serbia qualify to the round of 16.
Okay, Andrew, what do you reckon? Will it be Serbia or Switzerland?
I would like to say Serbia, but my head is telling me Switzerland. But honestly, Roberto, don't worry about your predictions. I have done appallingly, as most of us have, unfortunately, on this show, this World Cup, which, in a way, like we've mentioned, is a testament to the quality of the tournament. But I think Switzerland, simply because they do boring well, and boring, it gets you through. But I think
before we look into the knockout round, questions come in from friends of ours. I noticed this. He said, "How did Costa Rica turn around? I guess from getting hammered to actually, doing well. And where are Paraguay?" This is for Roberto. Roberto, that's over to you. So, how did they turn around, and where are Paraguay?
Where are Paraguay? Well, last I checked, I think they're in South America. So I don't know if they've moved continents in the last few weeks or whatnot. But going to Costa Rica, no, I think they, I think they've demonstrated that. Yeah, I think the 7-0 thrashing kind of humbled them a bit and realized that we're still far away from all the others. But getting the win against Japan certainly raised some confidence. And for a few minutes, in the way that they did against Germany, they realized, hey, we can make history. We can do something. And unfortunately, it didn't come to be where they. Not only did they not win the game, but they got knocked out. But I think it's also a demonstration that these teams can play, and it doesn't matter what continent you're in. It doesn't matter how many players you have on a super team in Europe or anywhere. I think when it comes to 11v11, you're there to play, and you're there to demonstrate why you're better. And that's again, like I reiterated, it's the pureness of tournament football that anything goes, and you're up to play for whatever it is. And for Paraguay, I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. I mean, third straight World Cup without making it. Hopefully that with this expanded World Cup that they can come back here in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. So yeah, we'll see what happens from there.
I mean, I just a couple of comments on Paraguay, because I had followed them for no real reason, just to sort of see how they were doing. Because actually, when I was a kid, I had a Paraguay shirt. This would have been 1982 or 3 it was. And my GAA, the team I played hurling with and game football with, they had red and white. So it was kind of like a kind of strange change color, but I really, really liked it. But anyway, so I had this shirt that was given. I don't know where I got it from. Someone gave us a gift. But I followed them before this World Cup, and I've seen that they were doing quite well. I mean, they've drawn with South Korea. They beat Mexico. They had drawn with Morocco. They had, I think they'd also, well, they'd beaten a couple of other teams as well. I know they lost late to Colombia. I remember actually for the World Cup, but they have a decent side with good players. Where is it going wrong for them? Why are they not putting it together? Is it Chilotto? I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think where it's going wrong.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can put out like an entire 3-hour podcast to talk about Paraguayan football, but we don't have that time. But in short, I think it's just a generalization of how other countries in South America are also rising up. You have the likes of Ecuador making it for the first time in quite some time, Peru, who made it for the first time in 36 years, 4 years ago. So I think it's just that, but I think it's also just an issue that grows to maybe a lot of countries that have failed to make it to World Cups in previous, that maybe it goes down to just not good enough players to reach the standard of all the other opponents in the continent. You can go into issues of maybe corruption or just like issues going from an administrative point of view, how they're dealing with youth football. I mean, there's so many factors that you could play in, but I think in short, it's just the rest of the world is catching up to them. That everyone wants to play, and they want to demonstrate that they are better than what they have in the past.
Because I've seen Medina play, for example, for Moscow CSKA, and he's a player with talent. I wish he could put more goals into his game, but he's still quite a talented player. So I guess the future is bright. So okay, okay, let's have a look ahead to tomorrow, because of course that is where it all matters. Kicking off tomorrow, of course, the knockout round starts, and the first one up is USA and Netherlands. Now, I was watching NBC News Live today. There's a lot of Americans in Qatar, a lot of them from the airbase, who's like kind of migrated up. And they're really pumped and feeling that they could pull off a shock. The Netherlands look okay in this. And I heard a very, very learned ex-Irish soccer manager saying that this could be when Holland break their duck. This is when they could actually go and win something. I'll start with Andrew. Andrew, do you think that with the USA, this is the chance to knock off Holland, or will Holland just have a bit too much?
Well, I have to be honest. I do think there is a very strong possibility they will, because the Netherlands are really, honestly, not there. They've not really impressed so far. They've done just enough. If Memphis Depay is in their side, they're a different outfit altogether. Cody Gakpo, of course, is in good form. He's quite likely to get a move to a big club in the January transfer window. But look, we've seen what the USA are good at. What they're good at is being very solid, well organised, and particularly in the centre midfield. They've got their trio who do so well. Yunus Musa progresses the ball really impressively. Tyler Adams is just a tireless captain. And I think the Netherlands will struggle again to deal with that. I think the USA are a side that are well coached dealing with a team, technically speaking, on the level above them, not necessarily creating a huge amount of clear-cut chances. But we've seen Greg Berhalter's made a few changes when he's needed to. Not necessarily it's changed the game completely, but he's got options up front that offer a different outlook. You've got Timothy Weah for the pace. You've got Haji Wright offers a more physical presence. I just get the feeling they're going to frustrate the Netherlands. And I think if USA get to halftime with level pegging, I honestly would back them to go on and win the game. Possibly in extra time and penalties, who knows? But I think they will be pumped up, and it will be very, very difficult for them to be beaten.
How are you in that, Roberto? Because I mean, it's of course Netherlands are the favourites. They're odds-on favourites to win. I don't know if Pulisic will be fit for the game tomorrow. There's questions around that. But they do have momentum. They've been playing a decent game. They've frustrated a very motivated English side. England didn't hold back against them, but they really, really took it to them. They were extremely lucky against Wales. They should have beaten Wales. I think naivety in that sense cost them, where they didn't put the ball in the back of the net when it was needed. Do they have a chance, or will we see maybe just this kind of that they flatter to deceive?
Well, I think that's the big question. I think certainly, yeah, Americans have every right to feel excited. And I think, the fact that this is the first World Cup knockout match in 8 years, the last time that they played was against Belgium, the famous game where Tim Howard had the record amount of saves, and it went all the way into extra time as well. So will it be a similar case? I don't think so. I think, to Andrew's point, I agree. I think there is that level of confidence that this side has. And, you look at some of the players in the midfield that have stepped it up, like McKennie, like Adams, like Musa. You look at someone who, for basically just the majority of the 3 games has been really active and has done very well in goal, is Matt Turner. I think he's definitely earned his flowers. The defense has kind of assured up a bit more and a bit more solid. And then the fullbacks as well has been able to bomb forward. I think the one issue is, you still have the likes of Pulisic, who, is deemed to play. I think he will definitely play that game after a really memorable performance against Iran. I think the one concern that I still have is that, this isn't a team that has a consistent goal scorer. That they have chopped and changed with the likes of Josh Sargent or Haji Wright or whatnot. So the fact that 2 goals came from wingers and Weah and Pulisic makes it a bit difficult to pinpoint. But, like you said, I think the Netherlands have demonstrated that, they have been good. They have been, frustrated at times as well by some team, be it an Ecuador or a Senegal as well. So I think that gives the United States a bit of confidence. And, there's so many things that could happen. And I agree to his point. I think, if we go into a situation where it could be at halftime or even goes into extra time with still level pegging, I think, yeah, you kind of have to factor in the United States in that one, because you look at maybe kind of the fitness levels of the two teams, and maybe the United States has that factor, whereas maybe the Dutch have more of the technical and talent factor in that. But I think that just makes it even more interesting. So I think one could feel confident. I wouldn't personally feel overly confident, but I think, yeah, it could be done. I mean, certainly if it was a different opponent like a France, Brazil, Argentina, maybe the stakes would be a bit different. But given that it is the Dutch, who again have all their history, have great players, have always been world renowned for their history, I think the United States can take that to their advantage and say, hey, we can do something that a generation or a few generations of players haven't been able to do. And to do that in their first ever World Cup for a lot of these players, I think it would be great for them if they're able to get something.
I think we see a lot of American fans doing this towards the Dutch players, choke. So anyway, well, no, I'm not saying that.
That's an American reference, though. That's an American reference right there.
I know. Yeah. There was a team I played against many years ago in Canada in the Atlantic League, Maritime League, sorry, and they had a history in 6 years. The previous 6 years, they had lost 6 semi-finals in a row, and on 2 legs, and it was unbelievable. It was a team from Miramichi, I think it was, in New Brunswick, and every time I saw them playing. I saw them playing against. We were knocked out in the early round, but our sort of island rivals, they were playing them, and in Miramichi in New Brunswick, they won. The Miramichi team won 4-1, I think it was. Yeah, and they were sponsored by Pizza Shed. Pizza Shed, sorry, Pizza Shed, yeah, or Pizza Shack or Shed. I think it was Shed. Anyway, very Atlantic Canadian. So they basically won 4-1 over there, and went, and in the 5th minute of injury time, or like the 5 minutes of injury time, conceded 3 goals. And it ended up then that they, it was 0-0, and conceded 3 goals, and they had away goals. So anyway, it was just, I've never seen a team collapse. It was like every single one went, we're going to lose, we're going to lose, we're going to lose. And you could see them just giving up. And I don't know, it was horrible. But I think it could happen to the Dutch. The other game tomorrow, very, very quickly on that one, Argentina, Australia. That's Argentina all the way. I mean, they had their bad day. Roberto, that's it. They're game face on.
Yeah. I mean, again, credit to Australia for getting it this far. And, I don't want to say, it's all for certain that Argentina win, because remember what we saw against Saudi Arabia. So we're not going into that. But yes, on paper and in quality and the way that they've turned up in the last 2 games against Mexico and Poland, yes, they should do it. I'd say convincingly as well. But there's always that fear. There's always that fear as well that, there's always a shock that happens. And I'm not saying that it could happen, but I'm pretty 99.9% chance that Argentina will go through.
Andrew, do you agree on this?
Yeah, I mean, I've been very confident in a lot of predictions that have gone horrifically wrong so far. So I've got 0 confidence in my prediction, but I have confidence in Argentina, if that makes any sense. No, I really do. I think the thing you've got to remember as well for Australia coming into this game, they would have had 0 hope, but expectation, burden on them to get out of the group. They've already achieved more than they were expected to do. So it's a freebie for them. And some people argue that could play into their hands and they'll be more relaxed. But I think you need a sense of jeopardy to raise the level of your game. We've mentioned about, but Japan for me is a classic example. Against the 2 big hitters in their groups, yes, they left it late, but they played out of their skins. And against Costa Rica, they actually struggled because they suddenly were expected to do something. So I think Argentina should really have little trouble at this stage. Australia will have fun. And who knows, they may make it difficult, but I don't think they're going to pull off a shock.
I think Australia's great chance was back in 2006 when they were cheated out of by Italy. That was a great chance to progress. If being honest, that's when they had the opportunity. Also, in terms of with the if we look at Belgium going out, 3rd last time out, and also Belgium should not have beaten Japan the last World Cup. That's it. Japan blew up. They were smarter this time around. Before we look at Sunday's matches and finish up, Roberto, these are friends in Voronezh. I know these guys. These are big Spartak fans out there. Melgarejo, is he in Brazil now, or where is he at the moment?
No, he's in Paraguay. He's in Paraguay right now. Yeah,
he's home.
He's home. He's playing in Libertad, and he's actually doing very well. He's one of the standout players in the league. He helped Libertad win the Apertura, which is the first league of the two leagues that happen in Paraguay year long. They have the Apertura and the Clausura, the 2 seasons, and he helped Libertad become a huge winner in that end. Being a player that I think is interesting, that has been so versatile, playing as a left back initially in his career. He moved up and now is a consistent goal scorer, playing on the wing, playing with the likes of some throwback names if you guys want to know. Roque Santa Cruz at 41 years. And also Cardoso, who is 39. So yeah, it's been interesting to see his growth over there, and he's still quite young. I think he's like 30, 29, 30, right around there, and he's still on the national. So
yeah, I think I remember when he left Spartak 2 years ago, he would have been 30 maybe. So he may be 32 at the very, very most.
Yeah, definitely.
So he's a spring chicken compared to the other guys.
Oh yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I mean, they were playing with the 17-year-old, now 18-year-old Julio Enciso, who's at Brighton right now. So yes, that is a spring chicken, and Enciso would be, I guess, the egg. Would he be the egg in this case? I'm trying to use my farm references in that. But,
I'm sorry. Okay, very, very quickly, because we have to get out to watch the games tonight. France, Poland on Sunday, and then England, Senegal. I'm going to ask Andrew, France and Poland, who's going to come through in that one?
You'd have to say France, really, wouldn't you? I mean, Poland rely too heavily on too few players in their side. They do have some quality. Zielinski in midfield I particularly like. I mean, obviously Lewandowski is a stand-up name, but they do have some other good players. But I think France just... They got too much quality, and I think they'll win. But then again, bet against me, and you're probably likely to be right. So expect to see Poland in the quarterfinals based on my prediction.
Roberto, England and Senegal.
That's the thing. I mean, if I go for England, it's probably going to be a Senegal win at this point. But no, I think this game's actually a bit tighter, honestly. When we think, yes, England have been able to get the results that they needed, but you saw them struggle sometimes. They even struggled in the first half against Wales, where obviously in the second half it was different. But I think if Senegal are able to break them down, which yes, they are a different side without Mane as a whole, but I think they can make it frustrating for them. So for me, like I think England do it, but it won't be easy. Honestly, I think Senegal have really been playing in this kind of team factor in them, and I think they have something to prove. So it wouldn't shock me if England were to win it, but also would not shock me if Senegal actually snatched something out. And yeah, I'd avoid the English media and Twitter for that matter if that is the case.
Yeah, because I think if England do go out at this stage, I think it's going to be horrific, absolutely horrific. Of course, then to just a quick comment on the game on Tuesday. It's a 4 o'clock kickoff, the early kickoff. Morocco and Spain. Roberto, who's going to come through, Morocco or Spain?
This is an interesting one because I think Morocco have shown that they can compete with the big powerhouses like they did with Croatia and they did with Belgium. So yes, I think it will be interesting, and there are political and also a lot of connections from geographical standpoints as well. But I think the Spain side, they had the issue against Japan, but I think the way that they've been playing, I think if they get it on right, just the way that they have with, that young midfield with Pedri and Gavi, and just how Luis Enrique has been able to change the side, they should be able to win it. But again, I think it's one of those close games. I'm really confident that it might be one of those thrillers in a way. And if anything goes using Andrew's ideology, I think we could see a Morocco win in terms of predictions.
Andrew, you go for it, because I mean, most of these Moroccan players, I think all but 3 or 4 at the most, were all born outside to parents, like Moroccan parents or grandparents. And some of them, like Hakimi, were born in Spain. So, and actually played youth for Spain. So they have a lot to prove, and they're getting better at proving it.
Yeah, I think there's a genuine chance of. I think it's probably one of the best chances of an upset in this round. Look, Spain, we know what they're like. They rely entirely on dominating possessions to the extent that teams lose their concentration and lose their heads. Well, Morocco have got difference makers, and I think with Spain, there was a lot of frustration in their last game against Japan. They wanted to finish smoothly, comfortably after coasting through against Costa Rica. That was too easy for them. I don't think 7-0 was a good, useful result for them because you can't really tell much from it. I think Spain should win. Of course, they should win. I got a feeling Morocco are going to spring a surprise here. I actually genuinely think so.
Okay, that is good. So it could be a Morocco win. On that note, I'll say thank you very much, Roberto Rojas of The Zone, Andrew Flint of Kappa Sports 3.0. Thank you very much. Enjoy the games. And Roberto, thank you so much for coming on. Absolutely brilliant, illuminating, and I'd love to have you on again if you have time.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, boys.
Thank you. Okay, and on that note, we'll let everyone go. I should say let everyone go out, and we will enjoy the rest of the game. I will enjoy after the game a walk by the Baltic Sea, where it is Baltic, really, really Baltic. And until Sunday night, same time, take care of yourselves and each other. I'm Alan Moore saying, have a good one.